Thanatos and Hypnos, the twin brothers of the dark. Part 1. The Children of Night. To understand death and sleep, we must first look into the darkness from which they were born. Before the Olympians ruled from the bright peaks of Mount Olympus, there were older, primal forces. One of the most powerful was Nyx, the goddess of night. She was a figure of such immense power and terrifying majesty that even Zeus, the king of gods, stood in awe of her and dared not displease her. From the dark folds of her cloak, Nyx birthed a legion of abstract concepts: doom, old age, retribution, and strife. But among this terrifying brood, she gave birth to twin brothers who would become the most intimate companions of humanity. One was Hypnos, the personification of sleep. The other was Thanatos, the personification of death. They were not born of a father, they were spun purely from the night itself. They are twins because to the ancient Greeks, sleep and death were two sides of the same coin. One is a temporary absence of consciousness, a nightly rehearsal. The other is the final curtain. They do not live on Olympus with the other gods. They dwell deep in the underworld, in a realm where the sun never shines, inseparable and eternal. Part 2. The Cave of Silence. Hypnos, the god of sleep, is perhaps the only god who truly rules over everyone, mortals, beasts, and even the gods themselves. His home is a masterpiece of tranquility. The poets describe his palace as a dark cave hidden deep within a hollow mountain near the land of the Cimmerians. In this valley there is no sound. No rooster ever crows to herald the morning. No dogs bark. No branches creak in the wind. The only sound is the gentle murmuring of the river Lethe, the river of forgetfulness, which ripples over whispering stones, lulling everything nearby into a deep drowsiness. At the entrance of the cave bloom poppies and other hypnotic herbs, from whose juices the night extracts sleep to sprinkle over the darkened earth. Inside, there are no doors to creak on their hinges. In the center of the room stands a massive bed of ebony draped in black curtains. There lies Hypnos, eternally resting, surrounded by his sons, the dreams, Oniru. It is a place of absolute peace, a sanctuary from the suffering of the world. Part 3. The god who conquered Zeus. While Hypnos appears gentle, his power is terrifying. He is one of the very few beings who has defeated Zeus, not with lightning, but with a whisper. During the Trojan War, the goddess Hera wanted to turn the tide of battle against the Trojans, but she knew Zeus was watching the battlefield closely. She needed him distracted. She needed him unconscious. So she visited Hypnos and asked him to lull the king of gods into a deep slumber. Hypnos was terrified. He remembered a previous time he had put Zeus to sleep and how the king had woken up in a fury, tossing gods across the hall. But Hera offered him a bribe he could not refuse. The hand of Pasithea, one of the Graces, the woman Hypnos had loved from afar for eternity. Driven by love, Hypnos agreed. He turned himself into a bird and perched in the trees of Mount Ida. As Hera seduced Zeus, Hypnos gently dripped his sweet slumber into the king's eyes. The All-Father, the wielder of the thunderbolt, collapsed into a helpless sleep, proving that even the mightiest power in the universe must eventually close its eyes.
If Hypnos is the comfort we crave every night, his twin brother Thanatos is the visitor we fear. But the Greeks viewed Thanatos differently than the modern Grim Reaper. He was not a skeleton with a scythe. He was a beautiful winged youth, often depicted carrying an inverted torch, a flame extinguished, symbolizing a life snuffed out. Thanatos represented peaceful death. He was the death of old age, the passing in one's sleep, the gentle release from pain. He is distinct from his sisters, the Keres, who were the spirits of violent, bloody death on the battlefield. Thanatos was not cruel, he was simply inevitable. He was a bureaucrat of the Underworld. When the fates cut the thread of a mortal's life, it was Thanatos' duty to collect the soul. He did not judge, he simply transported. He was known as the Iron-Hearted because he could not be bribed, begged, or reasoned with. Once he arrived, the journey had to begin. Part 5. Wrestling with Death. However, there is one famous legend where death was physically fought and lost. It happened in the house of King Admetus. The king was destined to die, but his wife, Alcestis, heroically agreed to die in his place. As the household mourned and Alcestis lay cold, the hero Heracles, or Hercules, arrived as a guest. Unaware of the tragedy, he got drunk and rowdy, offending the servants. When he finally learned the truth that the queen had just died to save her husband, Heracles was overcome with shame. He vowed to make it right. Heracles went to the tomb of Alcestis and waited in the shadows. When Thanatos arrived to claim the soul of the queen to drink the sacrificial blood, Heracles sprang from the darkness. He didn't use weapons, he used his bare hands. He wrapped his massive arms around death and squeezed. It was a battle of impossible forces, the strongest mortal against the end of life itself. They wrestled in the graveyard dust, cracking ribs and crushing stone. In the end, Thanatos, unaccustomed to physical pain, yielded. He released the soul of Alcestis and fled back to the Underworld. It was the only time in history that brute strength forced death to retreat. Part 6. The Sleep and Death of Sarpedon. The most poignant image of these twin brothers comes from the Iliad during the death of the hero Sarpedon, a son of Zeus. Zeus loved his son dearly, but could not save him from his fated death in battle. When Sarpedon fell, pierced by a spear, Zeus could not bear to see his body stripped and dishonored by the enemy. He sent Apollo to cleanse the body with ambrosia, and then called upon the twin brothers. Hypnos and Thanatos descended together to the bloody battlefield of Troy. They did not come as monsters, but as gentle bearers. In a moment of rare tenderness, sleep and death lifted the broken body of the hero. Hypnos lulled the pain away, and Thanatos carried the weight. Together, they flew him back to his homeland of Lycia for a proper burial. This image reminds us of the Greek view of mortality, that in the end, death is simply a longer, deeper sleep. They are brothers, walking hand in hand, waiting to carry us home when the fighting is done.